Happy New Year, Peacock!
Good morning. Happy New Year.
We're back for season 2. Can you believe it?
I can't actually, but yeah, it's actually cool.
I know. I never thought we would be here. August of 2022, you would have never
Two.
thought we'd be doing a podcast and actually starting season 2, let alone that, right? So this is so awesome.
Exactly. It
So
is
tell me, what
awesome.
did you do with your family for the holidays?
You know what? It was really cool because it was just us. But it was really more focused on the kids. My little ones, my granddaughter, my grandson, my grandnieces. I thought about the other day, I'm like, they're my grandnieces, right? Because they're the daughters of my niece.
Yes.
Um, but it's funny because their whole little clan, and to see Christmas through their eyes is what caused my attention because it's just this pure joy. As the kids get older, it's more like, I want the P whatever, the X whatever. It's like all the video games and everything. But to see these little ones open up and ah like I love that part.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing here. It's having my little niece here. That's really the only highlight of the holidays because she's so excited. We had Tony. It was the female version of Tony on the shelf, but she's a little brown, so we call her Antonia, but we called her Tony. You know, but Antonia was everywhere, and it was really cute to see her so excited because she wakes up in the morning and the first thing she's looking for was for Tony. So it's just really cute, that. But I didn't really decorate at all. My holiday season, unfortunately, was like in the dumps because of the whole construction. But I am gonna try harder next year for sure. So I didn't even have a Christmas tree, dude. I know.
Oh,
I
oh,
was
you
the
really
Grinch.
didn't decorate.
I was the
You
Grinch.
were the Grinch.
Yes. Yes. I should have done some videos with that Grinch face I had on Instagram just
I
because
was gonna say, missed opportunity, dude. You could have done it.
I know. But anyways, I don't plan to be the Grinch next year. So, but I'm so excited that, as to Peacocks Travel, as Anna Peacock, Sandy Peacock, we have so many plans for 2024. I can't believe, the other day somebody was like in the 2000s. I was like, oh yeah, that was like not so long ago. And then I realized it was like 24 years ago, dude. Like how is that possible?
Do you remember the big old countdown, the big old craziness that was going through when people were flipping out? There was gonna be there was a word
My
for it. And
grandmother wanted me to take all her money out of the bank because it was going to crash. And then at that time, she used to live in a senior living home. And she was like, can you help all my friends take their money out of the bank? I'm like, abuela, like, what does that even mean? Like, what do you want me to do? She goes, solo métete la computadora. Just do it on the computer. I'm like, okay, abuela, the computer's not magic. Like, I need more than that. Everyone was freaking the hell out.
I forget
Y2K,
the
girl. It was Y2K.
Y2K. Y2K. I don't remember what it was, but you're right. Everybody was freaking out. That the computers, everything was going to shut down because it didn't have the capacity to flip over. And I remember just thinking, well, go back to the good old paper and pen. I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys. I just,
And we
but
talked
yeah, that
about
was,
this. And we talked about
that
this
was,
last week, Anna. But I saw that commercial that said that millennials, oh, it wasn't a commercial, I'm sorry. It was like a meme or something or a reel. That millennials is the last generation that's lived without electronics. I'm like, no, that is not true. Millennials are not the last generation because they've had anything in their hand that was electronic. I want to say it was Gen X. It's us. If this
I
whole
think so
thing
too,
goes
because
down,
we lived, we lived without the remote controls. We lived without the computers. We lived without the cell phones. Millennials had they were I think they're the transition age because they saw it, but everybody was trying to go with, get modernized. And so the kids were then having, like we played with Ataris. Beep, 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 beep.
mhm,
Yes or no?
yes, I have
Right?
it.
And now it's, I'm like, Okay. So everything was getting modernized, but I really think that we probably were the last ones to use a good old, pen and paper. We could go to a library to this day, I guarantee you, and find a book looking at the little card catalog, right?
The Dewey Decimal System.
I wasn't going to go that far because now people are going to be like, what the hell is it?
Well, I remember being in college and taking an email class. I remember this, okay? It was a computer class.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember looking at my boyfriend at the time, and I was like, dude, this takes forever. Like, why can't I just call you? Or why can't I just give you a note? Like, what's the purpose of email? Of course, here we are, right? I don't know. That was in 1991, maybe. And now here we are, right? Like, everything is around email and. And I told you that the other day, the lady from the mortgage company was like, can you please fax us the pictures? I'm like, it's 2022. What are you talking about? Fax machine. What machine?
You know, I'm all for making things more efficient and all that good stuff, but the thing that struggled is communication. We've lost a lot of communicating in the process of upgrading and modernizing. Like nobody wants to send. I was so sad because we don't get Christmas cards. It's very few people that send Christmas cards.
I got like 10
You
this
sent
year.
you got 10?
Yeah.
Oh, I want 10 of your friends. Everybody, it was funny because all the Christmas wishes are in here. Like Merry Christmas, like that's thoughtful, but there's something to be said about having a card and writing, a little, you spent the time, you picked the card. To me, and you know me, I am very detailed on my gifts. I'm very specific. When I give you something, there was a lot of thought to it. I don't just run into a store and say, here, first thing, like I really like, for example, I thought this gift was so super thoughtful. They
It
gave
is
it to
true.
me, right? And it was from Jessica and our youngest little traveler, Ava. And Ava was the one that told her mom, for Anna. To me, that's the thought that, and maybe I'm old school. I don't know. Maybe I'm dating
But
myself.
you,
I don't know. But I
but
really like when people put time and effort.
you know who didn't send me a Christmas card?
Who?
You, Miss Detallista. So you want Christmas
No,
cards, but you didn't send one.
I didn't mail it, but I gave you one. Yes or no?
Oh, you did.
Oh, so take that back,
I got it.
reel it back. I gave you a Christmas card because I
No,
see
I
you.
was talking about mailing cards. I got mail cards with pictures and activities and what did we do this year type of thing. Like, that's too much for me. I can't do all that. I got like a million pictures of
No,
2022. How do I even go down? And, I'm sorry, 2023. How do I go down and pick the only 5 pictures I want to describe my year? I can't. It's too much. That will give me anxiety.
have you seen my personal Instagram? That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going month by month, and then I overloaded Instagram and it boot me off because you can't pick 5 pictures for 1 month. So I was doing January. I was doing my own thing, right? And I only got until March, and then it deleted all of my. No, I got it to April, and it deleted my whole first quarter. I was like, what? And you know me, my OCD, I want everything in order. So I had to just accept. And I'm like, okay, Anna, just slow down. I'm like, and so now it's going to be 12 days of, instead of 12 days of Christmas, it's 12 days of New Year's. So every day I'm going to put a month of pictures because that to me is my look back as to all the things that have been happening. And I mean, and I was the one that told you, let's do a yearbook. And first you're like, what? I'm like, yeah, let's do a yearbook. I think it would be cool to be able to look back. That's the only way because now what do you do with your pictures? No one does photo albums. We're on this. And then the cloud tells you you're full.
I try to do books every vacation and every trip. That's the only way because you're right. We don't print pictures anymore and we don't have photo albums with the little sticky stuff on them and that makes them turn yellow. We don't have none of those things anymore. That's old, right? So I try to do the little books for every trip. Now I did fail for 2023. It's just I just feel like there's a lot of things going on, but I will go back and follow up with all my little trips. So as we move into 2024, which is a really exciting year for us, we did a post about the ins and outs. So we don't do resolutions anymore because, the thing is that I feel there's a lot of pressure when it comes to resolutions. Like if you go to the gym today, there's going to be 638 people there. But of course, if you go by Friday, it'll be 500, and so on and so forth. So the expectations, unfortunately, set upon ourselves when it comes to New Year's resolution is kind of like you just feel like, it's just set up for failure, right? So we decided that we're going to do ins and outs. So we're in with some stuff and out with some stuff. So let's do the outs first, Anna. So what are our outs?
Okay. Well, on the note that you said that we do ins and outs, I mean, there's a lot of outs, and I think for me, and I'm gonna just and you can chime in on this one, but I reflect back on all the things that I'm very aware that don't serve me.
Yes,
And by meaning that is like things that don't sit well with me, things that make me anxious, things that make me mad. So now I look at it as like, okay, Anna, these are things that are in your control. And we know that, right?
yes,
We've read a million books, we've done a million classes. Um, Awareness is huge. So for me, I realize that there's so many things that will lead to anxiety. So if I get rid of all these things, I cut out anxiety. And so my anxiety is different from other people's anxiety. I will
yes,
feel um I will know that I'm starting to get there when all this in the back, and somebody used to tell me, get the monkeys off your back, right?
mm,
Because I would be carrying them, right? And then all of a sudden that pressure falls forward. And it's like, if I think about it and somebody says, we'll just get rid of the anxiety. Well, that means that I've got to get rid of my procrastination, my self doubt, you know, there's so many things that I have control over that.
yes, you
And
do.
that no longer serves me. So for me, those are the outs. It's all the negative energy. It's that perfectionism. And you know how I am. If I give you a template and then you mess with my format, what am I telling you? Sandy, don't do that.
Yes.
But there's nothing wrong with it. All you're doing is because you see it from a different lens, and that's okay. So those are my outs. I mean, there's a lot, but I think you're absolutely right. I'm not setting expectations where I need to give myself anxiety because I can't get to the gym or I can't do like.
And this year I kind of realized that there are things that I don't want to do, and I'm not going to do them to make other people feel okay or feel good. Like, I don't feel like I want to do that, and I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. If you get upset, if you get mad, it's all about how I feel. And I think I told you this like a long time ago when I was a kid. My dad was in World War II. But as a kid myself, my dad used to bring it up, and I used to think like, oh my God, wasn't I in the 40s? Like, oh my God, why are we still talking about it? I know it's really insensitive, but I had this conversation with my dad once, and he was like, well, Sandy, because, I've lived a longer life. Primero soy yo, después soy yo, y últimamente soy yo. And I thought to myself, God, Dad, that's really selfish. There's more to life than you, and you. But then I had to now, as a grown up, I think, my dad, I don't know what his devils were or what he had to go through or what he saw. But he told me in the conversation, Sandy, I live with myself and I sleep with myself and I have to wake up with myself, and my thoughts are in me, nobody else. And now, as a grown up, I understand exactly what he's talking about. Like,
Yeah.
he had to be able to manage himself emotionally, mentally, everything, so he can function, right? And then now, at the 50-ish years that I'm alive, I feel the same way. I feel like that doesn't serve me. Maybe that's not the word he knew to use at the time, but that doesn't serve me because it builds or equals anxiety, right? Like, no, I don't want
100%.
to. I don't want to do the Spartan mud run because that equals anxiety. No, I do not want to go drinking, right, and get shit drunk equals anxiety. Like, those things, like, I don't want to do them. And it's
It's
okay
our
to say no.
and it's okay. I was looking for I was paying attention, but I was looking for a meme that I came across that said three places I'm not going to go in 2024: above and beyond, the extra mile, or out of my way.
There you go. In
I couldn't stop
2021,
laughing because
it's true.
how many times? But you know what? It's not that it's being selfish. It's that same concept of put on your mask first so you can help somebody else. If I am not at my peak, and how am I supposed to help somebody else when I'm depleted? I
I
can't give you the last of like, I'm barely dragging. Like, I don't want to feel barely dragging anymore. So that's why for me, yeah, that's
so
why
had
for
an
me,
expectation to sacrifice ourselves. And so I remember in 2021, I finally said it. I was like, you know what? I don't like Beyonce. I don't like kale. Don't serve me kale. Don't tell me this is a kale salad. I don't like it.
but kale can be so good for you.
Yogurt.
Yeah, I don't like
If it's
yogurt.
strawberry, I don't care if it's pineapple. I don't care if it has chia seeds and
I
it
don't
has
like
all
yogurt.
kinds of crap in it. I don't
I
like
don't
it.
like yogurt or cottage cheese. Blech.
So those are the three. I remember that year I was like, I don't like Beyonce, I don't like kale, and I don't like yogurt. So that's it. I'm moving on. And then after that, I started seeing things like, three things you don't have to force, right? Friendships, ponytails, and I don't know the other one, right? And so I thought to myself, that's a really good way of seeing things. Like, I'm not going to force myself. I'm not going to limit it to three things this year, but I'm not going to do anything I don't want to do. And the answer is, porque no me da la gana. And that's it. That's it.
Well, you don't even have to have an answer. That like, there's no justification. I don't have to give anybody a reason. And no is no. I just,
And you're right. So, I had a friend whose mom never let him eat at other people's homes when he was a kid. Never. Never. Whatever the mom, that was her thing. So whenever they offer you food, she said to him, you say, no, thank you.
Latinos?
No, African American. No, thank you. That's all you have to say. It's no, thank you. So as grown-ups, I would say something like, hey, dude, you want to go to the movies? He'd be like, no, thank you. Done. I'd be like, why?
Why?
And then he'd be like, because I don't want to. He just looked at me, but I couldn't believe that was the end of the answer. But it's
Yeah,
such a
there was no more.
blessing. Such a blessing to
Punto y
have learned that
aparte.
at a young age.
But you know what? The thing is, that's not what we were taught, or at least for me. I had to say an explanation for everything. That was part of my upbringing. ¿Cómo que no? ¿Cómo es que no? I'm like, or, you're going to do this? Well, you got to give me this, this, this. So I always had to give a reason. And so even early on in my career, I remember everything was a because. And one of my first chief, may he rest in peace, but he told me, he goes, he asked, I don't know what it was exactly, but I said no because, and he says, I don't care the because. Just tell me no.
Exactly.
And I remember thinking like, am I about to get into trouble? And then I just stood there. He goes, are you done? Yeah. Okay. And I walked out, and I remember telling his secretary, I'm like, Mr. Reyes just told me that he don't care about my because, and she starts busting up. She says, because it doesn't matter. The answer's still no. He doesn't care why you're not going to do it. It's still no, yes or no. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it doesn't need, she goes, no, he doesn't care. Now, if it's something that needs to get done or whatever, there's going to be another question, a follow-up question.
Mhm.
But he doesn't want the because, he just wants the no, yes or no. That's it. I was like, damn. And it took me,
We should tell whoever you're reporting to, hey, I'm calling out sick because I have my period. Or,
dude,
I got freaking
do you know how many
diarrhea.
HIPAA violations I did? Because I would tell him everything.
I'm, I'm
I
out
have a
sick. Period.
no, not me, man. Everybody knew my medical condition. I have a fever. I'm having a sinus infection. I was doing my own HIPAA violation
You were giving it away, girl.
because that's what I thought you had to do. And it's like, it's almost like they had to validate that it was a good enough reason to be out. And now that you said that, way back in the day, another friend, another coworker said to me, I'm taking a day, and they don't need to know it's a mental health day. And way back in the day, we
Mental
didn't
health
talk
is
about
not.
mental health,
No.
right? We did not
Nope.
talk about mental health. And she would tell me, she goes, I'm taking a mental day. And I'm like, what the hell is a mental day? Like, who does that? And now in retrospect, I think, wow, had I not, I don't know, that was the very first time that I heard mental health day. And now what do we know about mental health? Like
Yeah.
all the things that we didn't pay attention to. And in the
All the
workplace.
vacation days and people did not take because they were so
Oh,
dedicated to their job. And I mean, we can go on and on for days, right?
do you want
About
me to put a
people,
number on that?
girl.
Remember, did I tell you 2 years in a row the vacation time? What do you call? I can't now. Like I've completely had amnesia from my former career. But you know how you used to buy your days?
Yeah.
I lost them. So I paid for those days.
And you
I
love.
lost them and then got taxed on that because of dedication. So I could put a number on what that cost me.
And I think that our society, and I could be wrong. I mean, I don't want to offend anybody, but I think our society prepares us for that with the whole thing of perfect attendance in school. Okay.
It's what
They
we know.
they reward people, the kids, perfect attendance. So the kids don't get sick. They don't have, you send your kids to school with fevers. Like, I don't know how that means. Or you just don't have children that get sick. That's okay too. But it's like preparing you mentally to then go to work and never call out sick or never be out. Like, that's crazy. Like,
Well, I
right?
mean, and it's, it gets rolled into the umbrella of work ethic because I remember my dad, and this is a little personal, but I'll never forget if there was a man that was strong on work ethic, my dad was like at the very top to the point that he would punch in. Now, speaking of good old days, remember you have to punch in the clock?
Well, they're
He
still
would
doing it in
punch
some
in.
places that we used to work at. Go ahead.
Oh, that's true. He would punch in every single day at 5:45 a.m. And he was so proud to show his punch card, 5:45. My dad worked in his profession, his career, and his job for 40 plus years, 40 years. It was 39 and a half when he got sick. And he was so proud to say that he had never called out, he had never been late, and he wanted someone to print out his time card punch in and out. And when HR called me, they're like, your dad has punched in every single day at 5:45 in the morning. He
Put the
never
exam
wanted to
here.
call out. When he had to have emergency surgery because his retina was going to fall off, he did not want to call out. I had to force him. So when he got diagnosed and he wasn't able to go to work, he was so devastated. And we had to give him this whole talk about, it's okay, dad. They're going to, because he was like 39 and a half years. He wanted to make sure he made 40 effing years. For what? So when you put things like that, I'm like, nah, nope,
No, it's not. It's not worth it, right? Because at the end,
no.
it's like, it's time in your life given away to somebody else that you'll
To
never get
somebody
back.
else.
And it's not your time anymore. And I've had friends too who have not taken vacation times for years. They work over the amount of times they've missed spending time with their children. So, I think it's kind of like, in retrospect, right? I can proudly say I always took all my vacation, all my sick time, but I didn't have perfect attendance either. My mom raised me that si estaba lloviendo un poquito, you don't go to school because you're gonna get sick. So my mom used to leave at 4:30 in the morning to go to work. Girl, I used to look out the window and be like, it looks like it's gonna rain, so I'm not gonna go to school.
The clouds are coming from the south, so I'm not
Yes.
going to school.
And she would come home at 2:30. She'd be like, no fuiste a la escuela, Mike, estuvo lloviendo. O sea, qué bueno que no fuiste. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
I used to be a
Not
really
me.
sick kid. I used to have really bad infections with my anginas, and I used to have fevers and all that stuff. So she was kind of like, we're not doing that no more, right? But of course, they took my anginas out. I never got sick again, but I think the trauma was that. So what are the ends for 2024 for Two Peacocks?
The ends. Definitely an end is us growing our community. We've met so many people, Sandy. It's amazing. I look back all the relationships that we've created through this travel, right?
Yes.
And you had talked about right now. You just mentioned about spending time with loved ones. Making relationships. We proudly can say we've been able to travel with our loved ones. as we're doing
Absolutely.
this business, as we're lifting it, as we're building the plane, as we fly it, our loved ones have been with us along the way. You know, to me, that is priceless. This is what it's about. So I would like, I think we both agree in continuing to grow our community, because it's not just a business. It's really a movement for us, is to be able to unblock and clear the path for people that have considered traveling, not too sure, are on the fence. Do it. So and use us as the vehicle to move you along. Ask us. Trust me, if we don't know, we're going to figure it out. But if we do know, there's a funny story behind it.
Oh,
So
sure. Yeah,
just
for
ask
sure.
us, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Absolutely.
so for me, it's growing our community, and that entail will lead to us, having more laughter, having more freedom, better well-being. It leads to all these things, and so for us is to share our joy.
And which comes to the other end that we talked about that we feel that is probably the most important one, and that's promoting the well-being and mental health, because us traveling has helped us through some really tough times. And we feel that travel is definitely that one vehicle, and speaking of the vehicles, right, that brings that wellness to us. I think that sometimes when people are stuck, whether it's in a relationship situation, family drama, job drama, whatever it is, the minute you get to the airport, it feels like you don't have those problems. They're gone, right? Because it's okay to buy that $8 water bottle at the newsstand thingy. It's
But we have some best practices we can share with you, so you don't have to pay the $8.
okay to buy the 6.99 chip bag, right? Because there's some liberation to that, to know that for the next 7 days or the next 10 days, you know what? It's all about me. I'm here because I'm going to explore. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to, try new things. Okay. Traveling has been essential to our well being and to our mental health. I mean, if you think about it, having traveled in 2023 has really helped us. I want to say not cure, because I don't think that's something that you're ever cured from,
No,
but it
you live
has
with this.
helped us, what did you say?
It helps us. It lives with you, because
Yeah,
it's not a cure. It's you taking the layers, all these layers that have
yes,
been imposed on us. We've taken the layers off, and we're getting very close to the core of who we are.
yes,
And mental well-being is something that is continuous. This is not, you do this from this period of time and then you're good. No, mental well-being continues, and you have to work at it, and you have to find the things that bring you joy. And for
yes.
us, not only has travel brought us joy, but it's brought us peace, serenity, connections. It's
Adventures, laughter, and, moments of being scared with fear, but at the end we end up laughing because we know that what the heck were we scared about anyways in the first place, right? And I think that it has been the vehicle. That's what I was going to say, of our healing process. We are healing things that we didn't even know we needed to heal, but here we are. We're fresher, we're
here
happier,
we are.
here we are. And so we always want to encourage people, right? That, fear sometimes is a good thing because that means you're uncomfortable, which means that you don't know if you should do it. But the thing is that you need to take that step in order to look back and say, what the hell was I so scared about? That is crazy. It's like when we went to Paris, remember? And you were like, but they don't speak English.
No, French. I don't speak French. All I learned, but you know what? What did fear do? It made me pick up language quickly. Parlez-vous anglais? Parlez-vous anglais? That's it.
Exactly. And that's the exciting part, right? Like even in Italy, shit, we didn't speak Italian, but ahí estábamos, muy chingonas, speaking
Bonjour.
Italian.
No. Buonasera.
But that's the beauty
Remember?
of it,
And then
right?
there's a time, and then I don't know what, we call English and Spanish Spanglish. What do you call Italian and French?
I don't know. It's our own language, apparently. We're trying to mix everything else together, right? But then we went to Croatia, Anna, and we really didn't know anything there. And what happened? We
You
were
couldn't
fine.
even We couldn't even read the signs.
No,
We had no idea. Talk about technology. Thank God for technology in this day and age, because we would have been there with the Thomas guide.
exactly. Because, we drove, we showed up, and we don't know anything. Thank God we met that guy in Slovenia who was from San Francisco who was helping us out. We took a picture with him, our 700 follower. And I think that that's the beauty of it. So if you have a little bit of fear, it's okay. There's nothing to be afraid of because it all works out at the end. So I think that we don't call them resolutions, we call them ins and outs. So out with the anxiety, which will solve half of the issues, and then in with positive mindful, and having plans, and then actually, taking care of your well-being and your mental health. I think that's, part of what we're going to work on in 2024. And of course, more trips, because that's just like, you know,
So where are we going first?
we're going to Morocco in 6 weeks. Can you believe that?
I know, and the countdown begins.
I know. I can't wait for the camel ride, girl. That's going to be it. Me ves allá arriba zampada en un freaking camel? Girl, that's it right there. I was getting so excited. And then Cuba in March, which is, one of our other favorites. We are going to miss our contact JC, as we had, Anna and I were talking, our contact JC did leave Cuba, and it's sad for us because he was our main contact there. I've known him since 2018 when I first went to Cuba, but we are wishing him and praying for him to make his way to his destination. I know that for us who visit Cuba, it's a in and out. It's kind of like a reality check, but for those who live there, it's a trap. It's a
It's
trap that you just can't find the key to get out. And sometimes you have to risk your life to get out. And I totally get it and I respect it. But that's unfortunately, our parents left their country not for the same reasons, but because of economic reasons. And I can feel and I can, you know, totally sympathize with the situation. So, but it is what it is, and we have other contacts now with in Cuba, so we're excited to see them also. And then we put out that interest list, Anna.
oh my goodness. That thing I had, but you know what the beauty is? The beauty is that these individuals, I don't know that anybody has ever asked, like, have anybody been asked, are you interested in traveling to A, B, or C? And to find that people respond,
Yeah.
and it was like quick.
So
So
here's
for
the
sure,
yeah.
go ahead, you have a
I'm
list, right?
saying
But well,
here's
for
the interest
sure, we're
list.
doing Oaxaca.
So interest list is Greece, Portugal, Machu Picchu, Oaxaca, Paris, Costa Rica, London, Guatemala, and the Christmas market in Europe, which apparently is a really big thing if you are a Christmas aficionado.
Yeah. How many countries is that?
That's 9.
We're going to do 12 countries again?
Well,
Wow.
no, and then there's Egypt. I put out a
Oh,
feeler for Egypt, and we've made a huge contact with someone in Egypt who has, I mean, we have a friend right now, Ashley from Ashley Portraits, who is out there in Egypt right now, and the photography is amazing. Oh my God, I
to
can't wait
have
to go
to
there.
have a pyramid behind you, I'm
Priceless.
just blown away. Her portraits are like beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
When my son was little, I think he was like 4 years old. He used to sleep with me, and we were watching CNN or something, and it was about the pyramids. And he's like, "Mommy, can we go see the pyramids?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course, we'll go one day, right?" So next day, they're like, "Oh, war breaks out in Egypt," and he's like, "Oh my God, they're fighting, Mommy." I was like, "Oh no, there's a war in Egypt, right?" And he's like, "Okay." So then the next day, he's like, "Can we go to Egypt today?" I was like, "Well, there's a war. We're not going to Egypt anytime soon." So then the next day, "Is the war over, Mommy?" I'm like, "No, no, no, no. This is a long haul. This is going to be a while, right?" So then I was mentioning to my son the day before yesterday, I was like, "Hey, Ryan, so I think we're thinking about a trip to Egypt. He looked at me like, I was waiting for him to say, "Is the war over?" It's been, I mean, it's been what, 15 years? Um, so definitely those are kind of the ideas that we have. If you haven't had a chance to go to our website, go to our website and put in your interest. So the minimum number of travelers needed in order for us to put out the actual trip is 8 to 10. If you do go and sign up to be an interest on one of these trips, we will release the dates and the prices to those people who have signed up first to get first dibs. And then after that, we will go ahead and release it to the public. We want to make sure those people who were paying attention, who are very interested, to get an opportunity to sign up before the rest of the public does. So
Sounds good.
I'm so excited. And so just some quick reminders. I think, Anna, you have some reminders now the beginning of the year regarding travel.
Oh, right now, let's take inventory of what we need to travel and be ready for all our trips for 2024. Let's start with passports. Take a look at your passport. If it's going to expire within 6 months, apply now. We just saw something on CN Traveler that they're saying that they've cut down the processing time, which last year was like 10 weeks, 12 weeks. Someone said that it's been 2 weeks. And actually, I can vouch. I don't know if it was 2 weeks, but I could tell you that it was under a month. I submitted for my mom's passport when we got back from Oaxaca. So in November,
Mm-hmm.
and by beginning of December, she already had her new passport. So definitely
But tell
the
our
process has.
listeners why they need to do it. Tell our listeners why they have to do it before 6 months.
Oh, because anytime you're leaving the country, United States will not allow you to leave if you don't have the 6 month limit. Not only that, but I mean, I don't know the legal, but it's the rule that the United States has that if you have a passport that expires, there's no way that they're going to let you come on the board on the flight. And I have seen it firsthand with my sister where she was denied and she's like, but my passport doesn't know. So this was pre-pandemic. Um, she was not allowed to board the plane that morning. We went straight to the federal building to stand in line to get the passport so that she could fly out the next day. And that in itself was a fiasco because it took 48 hours. We were there at 4 in the morning. We did get it done. But now that, like I said, it was pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. I know someone else that went to the federal building and they were denied and they lost their flight. They lost their trip. They had to redo everything. So, get your 6 month, look at your passport, make sure that it does not expire within 6 months. But this story leads into the next story of please consider every single time you book a trip to purchase travel insurance. Insure your investment.
Yes.
Vacations are great. Everything, you plan for the best, but you want to also be prepared for just in case. So
Yes.
travel insurance should always be in your budget when you're looking to fly wherever it may be, because whether it's a flight delay, you lose your luggage, Airbnb doesn't exist. We have another story about somebody that they went in, they reserved their Airbnb. They got to Italy. There was no Airbnb. That's a whole other story in which we'll have to go a little further in because people, you need to take precautions. And for us, Sandy, you and I have both been able to get reimbursed through our travel
Yes.
insurance when your mom got ill on the ship,
Yes.
right? When we were in Switzerland, we've got reimbursed. So we do highly, highly recommend everyone please get your travel insurance. If you don't know where to start, ask us. We can help you with a quote. It's not difficult. It's very easy. We just need your travel dates, the passengers that are traveling, and your age and the area where you're going. And we can set you, whatever. And there's different plans. Just like car insurance, you can decide the levels of insurance. So we do ask everyone to please consider travel insurance. And the other thing is also consider applying for global entry or at least at a minimum TSA. So people ask us all the time, what's the difference? TSA is when you're leaving the US. You want to just go straight through. You don't want to take off your shoes. You don't want to have to take out your laptop from your luggage. It's efficient. It's easy. You go on TSA website. You apply for it. If you have certain credit cards cover the charge, you'll get reimbursed. So that cost is not even something to put in your budget. You can use it for that. But if you're already traveling and now you're going to go across the seas, overseas, really consider global entry. It is the easiest thing to do. The last thing you want to do when you get off a 12-hour flight is have to stand in line having to wait for customs, right? If
Yeah.
you get off a 12-hour flight and you have global entry, how fast is it, Sandy?
Dude, it's like 2 minutes.
Walk right through,
That's
you
the walking
wave,
time. They just said go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I
you
mean,
take a picture, you go through the global entry, they take your picture and they're like, "Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Sandy." And you keep going.
done.
And everybody else, you look at the lines. And
Huge
again,
line.
the huge lines. And this cost is also covered by certain credit cards.
Yeah.
Amex, we could tell you right off the bat, Amex covers it, as Amex Platinum covers it. So really, it's not something that you have to pay for out of pocket. If you use a credit card that covers it, it's a benefit. So we highly suggest those are the top things that I think I can think of right now to get you ready for 2024 travels.
Now, just a reminder that if you get global entry, it also comes with the TSA. So it's
Oh,
a
that's right.
2-in-1. So you don't have to purchase them differently. If you decide to go global entry, it covers TSA. So that right there. And then also, we highly recommend that if you're traveling and you plan to drive, that you get your international driver's license. It's important to have that because some countries will fine you if you get pulled over and you don't have an international driver's license. So you can get it from AAA. It's a $20 fee, and your driver's license will last for a whole year. It's really a cute little, driver's license you have, and it's something to have as a memory. And so those are the things I think that will help our listeners get ready for 2024. They're things that will set the tone for the year. You've got your driver's license, you've got your global entry, and the rest, and your passport is up to date, and the rest is history. You just got to plan your trip. So, well, I think that, we're off to a great start, Anna. 2024 is full of promise, full of travel, and I'm just so excited to continue to see the world with you. Um,
Thank you. Likewise, Peacock. That's very sweet.
oh, thank you. And so, with that, I want to ask our listeners to please follow us on our Instagram page, which is 2_peacocks_travel. We are also on YouTube. We are on Facebook. And then, most importantly, if you need to purchase any travel gear, go to our newly opened travel shop, and that's at 2peacockstravel.shop. Or you can go to our website, topeacockstravel.com, and you'll see the tab there. And anything that you purchase on our website, it is those are things that we have personally purchased ourselves, and that we truly believe in the value that it brings to your travel, and it makes your travel a lot easier. And so just kind of tell your friends, tell everyone, and we look forward to seeing you on Instagram. Follow us and tell us about your stories and tell us about your plans. Or if you want to see us travel somewhere interesting, one of the places that we have not discussed traveling is Asia. And I feel like 2025 is definitely going to be an Asia stop. But thank you so much. Happy New Year. Feliz Año Nuevo. And we'll see you next week.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.